2023. Matters before the court for preliminary examination appears in the record.
Alexander Kirker on behalf of the people, P86282.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alyssa Segura with the Neighborhood Defender Service on behalf of Mr. Rembo, P86432.
All right, thank you. Are the parties ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, at this time the people call Officer William Hill. And Your Honor, I do have one preliminary.
Okay, what is it?
The MSP lab report.
All right, and is there a stipulation to that lab report? Or what are you doing with it?
I don't have an objection to it, Your Honor.
All right, at the appropriate time, you may put that stipulation on the record.
Yes, sir.
All right, have these other issues been resolved as it relates to the motion and eliminate what was filed regarding excluding irrelevant evidence? Do we need to address any of that?
No, Your Honor. I believe with this new lab report, the issue is moot for the time being.
All right, is that correct?
That's my understanding. Your
All
Honor.
right, perfect. All right, raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you give in court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may be seated.
Good morning. Could you please restate your name for the record?
Police Officer William Hill,
And are you currently employed and in what capacity?
Detroit Police Department, working special operations,
And how long have you been employed as a Detroit police officer?
going on 6.5 years.
And were you employed as a police officer on November 29th, 2022?
Yes,
Did you in fact work on that date?
yes, I did.
Were you by yourself or with a partner?
I had a partner that day,
And what is your partner's name?
Police Officer Jordan Dorton.
And did your duties as a police officer take you to an area at or near Ankle and Chapel Street,
Yes,
that in the city of Detroit, County of Wayne?
yes, it is.
And what brought you to that area?
It's a gas station.
And what were you doing at this gas station?
Just rolling, patrol, checking on gas stations, liquor stores.
And did you observe anything while you were on this routine patrol?
Yes,
And what was that?
I observed a vehicle at a pump with a driver that was what appeared to be slumped over at the wheel.
And when you say slumped over the wheel, what do you mean by that?
Head was up by the steering wheel. Sat there for a minute, kind of watching to see if she was gonna poke her, maybe she's on the phone or something. But after a few minutes went by, she never popped her head back up, so it appeared like she was asleep.
And did you conduct any further investigation of the vehicle?
Yes,
And what was that?
the vehicle had no insurance.
And at this time, what did you do after seeing the driver slumped over and the no insurance on the vehicle?
I got behind the vehicle, activated my emergency lights.
And did you conduct a traffic stop?
Yes,
And how did you conduct this traffic stop?
by pulling behind the vehicle, turning my lights on, walking up to the vehicle.
And what happened when you walked up to the vehicle?
I observed the driver still be slumped over at the wheel.
Did you make contact with the driver?
Yes,
And how did you make contact with the driver?
I had to knock on the window.
And is there anybody in the courtroom present today that you came into contact with on this date?
Yes.
Could you point out that individual and identify the article of clothing they were wearing?
Sit in the front row, looks like a blue mask and a green top.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the identification of the defendant.
One of-
And what happened after you made contact with the defendants?
Now I observed the driver start stuffing a clear container.
And could you describe that clear container?
It was a clear Tic Tac container with no label.
And was it an empty container?
No, it had a clear knotted bag in it with a white colored substance.
And when you say knotted bag, what do you mean by that?
Like a clear plastic baggie that was tied with a knot on it.
And in your experience, is there anything significant about this?
What's wrong with that microphone? Maybe step back a little bit.
I think it's a microphone, something's up on this side.
What is that? It's, yeah.
It might be the sound of breathing into the microphone.
Okay, okay, so. All right, go ahead.
And in your experience, is there anything significant about this tag?
Yes,
And what is that?
no, it's using narcotics.
And upon observing this knotted bag with the white substance, what did you do?
I then had the driver step out of the vehicle.
And did the driver step out of the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do anything further as part of the traffic stop at this point?
Yes.
What was that?
I then opened up the clear zip Tic Tac container.
And what did you observe?
I observed the clear down the bag with the white substance, and there was a lottery fold in there.
And can you describe the lottery fold?
It was a lottery ticket that was folded up.
And in your experience, is there anything significant about a lottery fold?
Yes.
And what is that?
Usually that's where narcotics are stored.
And did you conduct any further investigation?
Yes.
And what was that?
I did check the purse of the driver.
And how did you know that that was the purse of the driver?
Because when I asked the driver for her ID, she reached into this purse to recover her ID from it.
And where was the purse located in the vehicle?
Behind the center console?
And did you recover anything from this purse?
Yes.
And what was that?
I recovered another clear knotted bag, a large knotted bag, a white substance, and a black and brown grocery bag that had multiple large knotted bags of white substance.
Can you give a number of how many knotted bags?
I believe it was 6.
And were the items placed into evidence?
Yes.
Do you recall the lock seal number?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Reviewing your report, refresh your recollection.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Do you recall the lock seal number?
Yes.
And what was that number?
057477776.
I have no further questions. Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Counsel, you complete the stipulation on the record at this point in time.
This time, the people for the stipulation vote to admit the MSP lab reports with lock seal number N05747776.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, for exam purposes, that is admitted, you may publish it.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yeah. All right, cross exam.
Officer Hill, you prepared a report in this case.
Yes.
You reviewed that report prior to submitting it.
I believe so, yes.
It's an accurate representation of the events that took place on the day in question.
It should be.
Did you review that report prior to your testimony today?
Yes.
Did you find any inaccuracies in that report?
Not that I knew of.
When you approached the vehicle, Ms. Drumbo was in the driver's seat,
Yes.
and you said she was slumped over the steering wheel.
Yes.
Would you agree that there were also a few needles on the floorboards?
I can't recall that.
But you say that Ms. Dremba had some substance in her lap,
Yes,
and this is what caused you to ask her to exit the vehicle.
yes,
And you were the one who searched the vehicle?
yes,
Aside from the substances, you didn't place anything else on evidence, correct?
not that I can recall.
You didn't find a scale
No,
or multiple phones
no,
or a large sum of money
no,
and no loose baggies?
not that I can recall.
And you never observed Ms. Dremba make a hand-to-hand transaction with anyone, did you?
No,
No further questions, Your Honor.
I have
You're
nothing
right.
further.
Are you sure you have nothing further?
Yes.
All right, so we'll just make a step now. Are the people calling any additional witnesses?
People have no further witnesses.
Is the defense calling witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
All right, argument?
Your Honor, at this time, the people would move to bind over the defendants on count 1, controlled substance delivery and manufacturing methamphetamine, and count 2, controlled substances, possessions, cocaine, heroin, or another narcotic less than 25 grams. As we heard from the officer, he approached the vehicle to see a slumped driver over the steering wheel. We conducted further investigation of the vehicle and also currently had no insurance on the vehicle. This time a traffic stop was conducted. The officers approached, so the driver was identified as the defendant, was still slumped over the vehicle. The officer then recovered or observed narcotics in a clear Tic Tac container, which contained one knotted bag with an off-white substance. The driver was then asked out of the vehicle. The officer then searched the purse of the defendant where he had previously observed the defendant reaching for her identification card. In this purse, he discovered 6 knotted bags, which later tested positive for methamphetamine. As the officer testified, the knotted bags are usually consistent with narcotics. Per the stipulation, the MSP lab report was then placed into evidence, which showed that the drugs tested positive for 26.77 grams of methamphetamine and 2.2059 grams of cocaine.
All right, so you're not moving forward on count 3, is that correct?
That is correct, sure.
All right, thank you.
And people would move to bind over the others.
Argument?
Yes, Your Honor. We would object to the bind over on count 1, controlled substance delivery and manufacturing. As to count 1, the prosecution failed to provide enough evidence that establishes Ms. Dremba intended to deliver methamphetamine. Jury instruction 12.2 provides the necessary definition of delivery and establishing possession with intent to deliver. Specifically, delivery means that the defendant transferred or attempted to transfer the substance to another person, knowing that it was a controlled substance and intending to transfer it to that person. Here, the prosecution did not provide enough evidence that Ms. Dremba transferred or attempted to transfer the substance to another person. The officer testified that he did not find any other evidence to warrant Ms. Dremba intended to deliver methamphetamine. He did not find a scale, multiple phones, loose baggies, nor a large sum of money. What the officer did testify to was that he observed Ms. Dremba leaning over her steering wheel with a substance in her lap, along with substances in her purse. These are not indications of a drug dealer, but of a drug user. Thus, count 1 should be dismissed for insufficient evidence as to.
All right, respond.
Your Honor, this is a probable cause standard.
And what has been placed on the record to reflect that the defendant should be charged with possession with intent to deliver. What was placed on the record by the officer, there's no testimony by the officer that in his experience, the amount, what it would reflect in his experience, is that amount for personal use, is that amount for likely distribution? None of that's on the record. There's nothing on the record at all.
Understood, Your Honor.
So what is your argument?
It would have been the size and the packaging. There were several knotted bags.
And was there any reason why you didn't want to get that from your witness?
No,
All right, is there anything else? And I specifically asked you, is there anything else?
I have nothing.
Nothing further from your defense, Your Honor.
All right, the court's had an opportunity to hear the testimony in this matter. The defendant's charged with 3 counts. So count 3, of course, there's insufficient evidence on that one, so that matter will not be found over. The officer who testified, police officer Hill, the incident taking place on or about November 29, 2022, in the city of Detroit on Finkel. The officer stated that he was on routine patrol, observed the vehicle at the pump with the driver slumped over, who he has identified as the defendant. He approached that vehicle, knocked on the window, indicated that the defendant then, who was still slumped over, came to and started stuffing a clear baggie with a white substance into, it looks like stated, a TikTok container. He also indicated that the vehicle that the driver was driving did not have insurance. The driver was asked out of the vehicle, and on a search, a number of items of suspected narcotics were found. In particular, there was a brown grocery bag with 6 knotted bags. There were also another clear knotted bag, and also a ladle fold that was stuffed into the TikTok container. The officer did not give any testimony as to his opinion as to the amount of what was found. I guess counsel wants the court to surmise that the weight of what was found, 26.77 grams, would have been for distribution as opposed to personal use. But that information should have come from the officer, because there are six knotted bags, separate bags. He didn't confiscate any money. He didn't confiscate any paraphernalia or anything of that. At least there was no testimony of that. But counsel wants the court to surmise that because of the amount that it would have been indicative of possession with intent to deliver. I'm not going to do that. That should come from the witness. That should be, the record should be clear from the witness that it's the witness's opinion based on their experience that this would not just have been for personal use, and without anything else to corroborate that there was possession with intent to deliver, other than the 6.77 grams. I think counsel is correct in asking this court for dismissal on that count, because there's insufficient evidence to establish that. The record is full. No testimony on that issue. so I did not bind that matter over. The court will bind over on count 2, controlled substance possession of cocaine, heroin, or another narcotic, and a bind over on possession of methamphetamine, lesser charge. All right, and you'll need to provide that to the court clerk, the just the possession of the meth. I don't know if it's going to be different than count 2, if the MCL is different than count 2, but I will find, because the record does not reflect the testimony of the officer, the requirement of probable cause for intent to possession with intent to deliver. I will not bind over on that. All right, so the court will bind over on amended charge of possession of methamphetamine and count 2, possession of cocaine, heroin, or another narcotic less than 25 grams. And maybe there isn't a suitable amended lesser offense on count 1. I don't know. Maybe you could have asked to have your officer call back, and you didn't do that either. So I'm sorry. Just, you have to make your record. All right, court finds probable cause of the crime was committed in the city of Detroit, probable cause of the defendant has been charged appropriately. This matter will move forward. It looks like it just moves forward on count 1. Unless you give me statute for possession.
Count 2, you mean you're under, right?
Count 2 is going to move forward. Count 3 is dismissed for insufficient evidence. They did move for a bind over on that.
Yeah.
Count 1, the court is finding insufficient evidence as it relates to possession with intent to deliver. As I indicated, it can be amended to the lesser offense of possession.
Your Honor, if there is not a suitable lesser offense for count 1, will it just be dismissed?
Well, I'm asking him now to see whether or not, and there should be. All right, arraignment on the information is, what's the arraignment on the information, please?
It's May 31st.
May 31st,
I'm sorry, May 30th.
May 30th.
Would you like the MCL?
Yeah,
MCL 333,
I'm sorry, what is it?
MCL 333.7403 2PI.
All right, it's amended. It's amended. I move it now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we need a dismissal for count 3. And count 1 is amended to a lesser. Over here. Is our 11:30 ready?
There are all 5 things.
you ready on Regina Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. John.
Thank you.
Yeah, you will.
You know, I'll be emailing you next week again, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't see it, do you? But it's under here. Oh. Right here.
All right, people of the state of Michigan versus Regina Roberts, case number 23056750001. Defendant is charged as follows. Count one, controlled substance, delivery, manufacture, cocaine, heroin, or another narcotic less than 50 grams. Count two, controlled substance, delivery, manufacture, cocaine, heroin, or another narcotic less than 50 grams. I'm misdemeanor, three, maintain drug house appearances.
Good morning, Your Honor. Daniela Parrish on behalf of the people, PA 5495.
Morning, Your Honor. Sarah Kraus, P81830. I am here on behalf of Miss Regina Roberts, who is present and standing to my right. Miss Roberts, can you state your name nice and loud for the court, please?
Regina Roberts.
All right, thank you, counsel. How do you wish to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, I have had conversations with both the APA and my client. We are going to waive as to counts 1 and 2, with count 3 being dismissed.
All right, is that correct?
Correct. That is correct from the people. The people that have no objections to the waiver on count 1 and count 2, and people have insufficient evidence at this time to proceed with count 3.
All right, and Ms. Roberts, I'm going to ask you some questions as it pertains to the waiver only. Do you affirm you'll answer my questions truthfully today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this court will advise you that you do have a statutory right to a preliminary examination. It would require that the people show that there is probable possibly that a crime was committed in the city of Detroit and probable cause to believe that you may have committed that crime. You understand when you waive the exam, we will not hold that exam. This matter will automatically move forward to the Wayne County Circuit Court. Do you understand these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you wish to waive this exam?
Yes, I do.
Has anybody promised or threatened you in any way to get you to do that?
No, ma'am.
And did you freely and voluntarily sign this waiver?
Yes, I did.
All right, and there being no objection by the people, the court finds the waiver has been given freely, voluntarily, and understandingly. The matter will move forward to Wayne County Circuit Court. Your arraignment on the information is June 6th, and that'll be at 9 o'clock at Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. If there's no objection, the court will continue the bond, and then the court will also dismiss count 3, the high misdemeanor matter by stipulation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right,
Thank
I
you,
need
Your
you to
Honor.
prepare that dismissal.
Just put the count. Just a count.
For the 11 o'clock case.
Uh-huh.
She was stuck in the third circuit for the trial. One testimony, and then closing argument. Just wondering, is she something or?
If the witnesses are available for this afternoon, that is this afternoon. Because I have, there are 2 others that are scheduled, so if she can come back, the witnesses, we'll check and see if the witnesses come back this afternoon
Is
on
this for the price?
Price, yeah, because the attorney is in a jury room. She thinks that she'll be finished, at what time is that?
She just said they have 24 witnesses and then the closing arguments.
And then they have to do instructions though too. They have to do the instructions, so I need her to give me an estimation time, because we're gonna have witnesses back. Are your witnesses here?
That's check out.
Okay, why don't you check and see?
Price.
Can I proceed really quick before you guys take your bath? Okay.
We're like children now, you know.
Quick peek for you.
This is. Thank you. Do you have a case number for that?
No,
I'll give it to you.
no, I should have went to Judge King's courtroom this morning. They said, who do you want, Sabree or King? I said, oh, you know, Judge Sabree in a minute. Let me go ahead. Let me stop. I'm sorry. Okay.
Is it up there?
No, yeah.
Oh, shit.
That one.
If you want her
Birthday
to,
on here.
did she sign it already?
No, I'm gonna go get the.
And this is for, who's for
I can take it over.
Okay, that one's good.
Thank you.
Sign it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Here's an extra.
Yeah. I'll leave it on. That's why. I was like, they're not gonna find it over here. Thank you. I'm like. Luckily, they know I don't like, so the judges don't mind. Which, the tan ones or black ones? Okay. You're off, but.
That's fine, that defense counsel would be.
Well, I called her back to ask her, did she have the time? She was like,
Okay.
so I'm sitting here like, okay.
Alright, once I spoke to the witness, he told his boss he'd be back to work around 1 o'clock or so. So
Oh, okay.
it may need to be adjourned, depending on whether.
Hey, let me go correct, see if she is going to adjourn. Yes, but what? Can you do?
He only told his boss was taking half the off the work.
Understandable, understandable.
It's probably not going.
Well,
So she'll be
his
back.
witness has to leave and the attorney is not sure what time she'll be able to come over. So we're going to find out.
Okay.
Ask the judge what she would like to do.
Ms. Price, Mr. Price. Okay, so you can pick up Andrea, the Remba, and also we need
Thank you.
Price.
Have a good day.
Oh, sorry.
Uh, Okay, well, whenever you
Who else?
Michael Price, that's at 11:30.
Yeah, oh, okay.
And the one we just did, she.
Can I get the police report, that last one?
Or Ms. Roberts?
No, you remember?
Okay.
Oh, this was count 3 on. We don't need this.
Huh?
With everything, I dismissed the whole case, so I'm gonna put this in the file.
Okay. Let me go ahead and.
Okay. Because it was. So you probably already know we gotta do a minute.
For hers, yeah. That's what I'm trying to, her to talk to people, so I can go ahead and put her in the system. So she will know. I have to have the judge sign this too. Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, I'm done.
Somebody else. This is.
Thank you.
Is that on Regina Roberts?
Yeah, I guess, the one that was here, I just ran across next door to have it signed, because she got to sign it, but she got
Oh, okay.
for the girl's case.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just missing one count too. You want me to put that one in the file?
No, well, no, that's. You can give
Oh,
me
okay.
that.
You don't need that one.
Nope. What was that date on that one? Mike?
Which one?
Roberts.
Girl case.
Yeah, Roberts,
That
Regina.
was,
What about the 6th or something, or 5th? No, I meant on, wait a minute now. I
oh,
got
Robert's right here, 6-6.
6.
Thank you.
No, but that was the 3rd. This one was the 3rd or 31st?
The 31st here.
I'm behind the 3rd. Okay, I guess we'll see. It should be 7 days after the day. Doing 3rd, it should be 3rd.
Go to the restroom.
All right, bye.
Yeah, all right. Have a good day. You too.
I'll go out in the hallway. The judge comes in, call me.
All right, the defendant is charged as follows: count one, carjacking; count two, armed robbery; count three, weapons concealed; count four, weapons, felony, firearm; and count five, weapons, felony, firearm. Appearances for the records.
Alexander Kirker on behalf of the people, P 86282.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Stephanie Carson on behalf of the defendant, P 57096.
All right, thank you. All right, so the exam was scheduled this morning at 11 o'clock, and counsel, we received a call from you indicating that you were still in a jury trial and you would not be able to make it over this morning at 11 o'clock. And we did inquire from the witness whether or not they could come back this afternoon, and they could not. They had to be at work at 1 o'clock, and we didn't know, if you could even get to us by 1 o'clock based on where you are in the jury trial. So I've had you zoom in because I'm assuming you're requesting a continuance.
That's correct, Your Honor. I am. My trial is over. The jury is deliberating, but the judge has advised me he wants us to stay here. So I do need another date.
Okay, all right. So let's look at your calendar and let's get another date. We could go to June 1st or June 2nd.
I can do June 1st, Your Honor. Actually, I'll be in the building June 2nd. If I could do June 2nd, that would be better.
Okay, so if you want to do June 2nd, you could do 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Can I have 11 o'clock, please?
Let me make sure. Okay. Okay, 11 o'clock on June 2nd.
Thank you.
All right, and the people will need to check and make sure that's going to be a good date for their witnesses. And court will continue the bond unless there's any objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, that concludes this hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, German.
I don't just work in this courtroom. I don't. Let me see.
That's okay. I'll just write on I'll write on the register that I'll do this.
So you're gonna have to see them,
All right, are you ready?
Yes, Judge.
Which matter are you here on?
Bailey?
All right, people of the state of Michigan versus Tyrone.
Yes.
Bailey, case number 2305669-101, defendant is charged with assaulting, resisting, obstructing a police officer. And will be charged as a habitual offender, third offense. Start here.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Daniela Parrish on behalf of the people, P 85495.
Hello, Your Honor, Murray Duncan, here on behalf of Mr. Bailey. My P number is 36719.
All right, thank you. Your name, sir?
Tylon Bailey, good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Are the people ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, people are ready to proceed.
All right, Mr. Bailey, you may have a seat.
Your Honor, people just indicate that the OIC is in courtroom OIC Eric Carton, who will not be testifying during these proceedings.
All right, any objection?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. People call Eric Vidal.
step up and enter the court reporter spelling your name, turn off face to judge afterwards.
B as in Victor, I-D-A-L.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you give here today will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
It's easier, that mic gets movable, you can place it on your lap if it's easier. I'm gonna ask you serious questions. If there's any question you don't understand, please stop me. I'm happy to receive the question. Would you mind to repeat your name for the record, please?
Sure, Officer McDowell.
And officer, could you please indicate where you are currently employed and in what capacity?
I'm at the 10th precinct in Detroit.
Detroit Police Department 10th precinct, and in what capacity, sir?
Meaning,
What do you do? Are you?
oh, I'm a police officer,
Thank
sorry.
you, sir. Sorry, just want to put that on the record. Thank
Oh,
you.
no
How
problem.
long have you been a police officer?
For about 3 years.
Were you employed in this capacity on April 30th, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you by yourself or with a partner that day?
I had a partner that day.
Do you recall partner's name?
Edward Moto.
And were you in full or modified uniform on that day, officer?
Full.
And were you in a scout vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that scout vehicle fully or semi-marked?
Fully marked.
Thank you. Did your duties as a Detroit police officer take you at or near Hogarth and Dexter Streets in the city of Detroit, County of Wayne?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us why you were in that vicinity that day?
That's the area we normally patrol.
And while at or near said location, did you observe something through your attention, officer?
Yeah, I observed a vehicle with tinted windows exceeding more than 4 inches.
Do you recall what type of vehicle that was?
It was a Lexus IS 350.
As a result of your observation, what kind of thing did you do, officer?
We initiated the traffic stop on the vehicle.
You indicate initiated traffic stop, what does that entail?
Lights and also a use siren.
Thank you. What, if anything, did you observe the vehicle do after you initiated the traffic stop?
So, I initiated the traffic stop at first with lights. The vehicle was super slow to come to complete stop. He did have enough time to pull over and come to a complete stop, but he was very slow to come to a complete stop.
You indicated that was when you had your lights on.
Mhm.
Did you initiate siren?
Yes, at that point, I initiated the sirens, for quite some time, and it still came to a slow, come to a complete stop.
Did the driver of this Lexus with the tinted windows eventually come to a stop?
Yes, eventually.
Did you make contact with this driver?
Yep, I made contact with the driver.
And what was your partner doing when you made contact with the driver?
He went to the passenger side of the vehicle.
Would you be able to recognize that driver you saw them today?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see that driver in the courtroom today? And if so, could you please tell us where in the article is looking at?
He's sitting right there in a black shirt.
Right there.
He's sitting in the first row in a black shirt.
Right, no, thank you. Thank you. Okay, officer, what if anything occurred when you first made contact with the defendant?
I introduced me and my partner, advised him to, on the traffic stop, and advised him to lower down all the windows.
Can you tell us why you asked him to lower all of his windows?
Due to his tints being so dark for officer safety, we weren't able to see inside the vehicle, so that's why I gave commands to pull down the windows.
Did the defendant comply and have all the windows put down?
Not all of them, no.
What happened after not all of them went down?
So my partner was asking the passengers some questions. The driver began to pull up his window and stated, "You don't need to talk to him." And
If I may, when you say pull up his window, are you referencing to the front passenger window?
from passenger window, yes.
Understood, thank you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So, please continue. So the driver actually indicated that, and then did you observe that window go back up?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you do as this was occurring, sir?
I tried to talk to him and advise him like, hey, just relax, it's gonna be okay. You just need to do it for our safety.
Did he comply and then roll down all the windows?
My partner eventually opened up the door.
Okay, but so is that something that he didn't?
No, he did not, yeah, he was not complying.
Based on the fact that he didn't comply, what, if anything, did you do with the defendant?
I advised him to come out of the vehicle, and when
Did he comply?
no, he stated that he wanted a supervisor to make the same.
Did you observe the driver do anything prior or during or after he indicated that he wanted a supervisor?
No,
Did you call for backup?
yeah, so at that time, I calmly spoke to him, and told him, hey, I'll get a supervisor, but, I had people come, I had supervision come, and I had other people come as well.
So after he initially failed to comply with the windows and also failed to comply to exit, and you had to call backup, did he eventually exit the vehicle, sir?
Yes, eventually he did, after me talking to him and, telling him like, hey, it's okay, it's not a big deal.
So once the defendant was out of the vehicle, did backup officers ever appear, or if so, when?
Yeah, so they came immediately after he came out of the car.
Once the defendant was out of the vehicle, what, if anything, occurred at that point?
At that point, he was able to provide us with his identification card.
After you obtained his identification, verified his identification, excuse me. Did you learn anything about his identification?
Yeah, we discovered that per lien, he had an active warrant for his arrest.
Do you recall where the warrant was out of?
No,
Okay. So after discovering that he has an active warrant for his arrest, what things did you do?
I attempted to place him under arrest.
Did the defendant comply or, and allow you to place him under arrest?
No,
What happened? How did he react when you indicated that you needed to place him under arrest?
he began to resist. I calmly tried to talk to him like, hey, just put your hands behind your back, it's gonna be all right. He became just wiggling around and just wasn't listening to any of my commands.
Okay. Did you indicate to him that he had a warrant for his arrest?
Eventually, yes.
So while he was resisting, you indicated that he was saying anything, do you recall anything that he specifically said while resisting?
No,
And officer, just to fast forward, were you eventually able to get handcuffs on him, sir?
yes, we were.
Okay. After you arrested him, can you please tell us what, if anything, occurred once he was under arrest for that warrant?
After he was placed under arrest, he was in the back of our scout car, stated he needed medical attention, which was provided to him. And he was also, taken to Henry Ford.
And how was, you said, he indicated he needed medical attention once he was in the back of the scout car. Between arresting him and going in the scout car, did you, was there any other observations that you made in regards to his actions?
He started talking very disrespectful at us, stated that's why officers get shot. Just very, very inappropriate stuff that you just don't say. And I did tell him just to be quiet because that's unnecessary to say.
Thank you, officer. So once he was under arrest, let me just ask you, during all this altercation, did anyone, including yourself or the defendant, sustain any injuries?
No,
And aside from him being arrested for the active warrant, was the defendant issued any citations in regards to this incident?
yes,
What was the citation?
I don't recall.
If I showed you your police report, would that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Officer, you could just review last time. Once your memory is refreshed, please let me know. I'll take that back. We'll take a question. Has your memory been refreshed?
Yes, ma'am.
What type of citations was the defendant issued?
We gave him a civil citation for having tinted windows exceeding more than 4 inches.
Yes. No further questions. All right,
Manager, thank you. Hello, officer.
Hey,
You testified that when you put your overheads on that, you didn't believe that my client pulled over quick enough. Is that accurate?
yes, sir.
He did pull over within a block, right?
Don't recall.
If it was in your report and stuff, it was about a block, will you agree with that if you wrote it in the report?
If I wrote it, yeah, I wrote it in my report.
He didn't try to flee.
No, he was super, super slow to come to a complete stop.
Eventually did, but he did eventually pull over, right?
Yes,
And you were investigating a civil infraction at that time, right?
yes, sir.
And was there any other driving that caught your attention?
No,
And when you went up to the vehicle and you were investigating civil infraction, he put his window down, correct?
yes, sir.
And at that time, did you ask for his license and for his registration?
I began to introduce myself and my partner began to talk to the passenger. And I could hear my partner say, hey, roll put down this window, put down this, I can't see. Your windows are heavily tinted. So I wasn't allowed to ask for any of his information because for officer safety, my partner can't see inside the vehicle. I don't know what the passenger has.
At some point in time, did you ask for his driver's license?
Yes,
Did he give you a driver's license?
I don't recall I don't know if it was identification card or, driver's license.
Did he have a valid license?
I don't recall.
You didn't even take it for that.
No, well, the ticket was not actually.
So at some point in time, he did give you his driver's license, correct?
Yes, once he was out of the vehicle, yes.
And that wasn't a problem, right? He didn't.
No,
Give you a hard
no,
time.
he did not.
And as far as the windows going down, he wasn't under arrest at that time, correct?
No, he was just asked to step out of the vehicle.
And when you asked him to step out of the vehicle, did he?
At first, no.
And how long did it take for him to come out of the vehicle?
Couldn't give you a time frame.
Did you have to force him?
No.
So he came out on his own accord.
After me speaking to him and calmly, yes.
So there was no force involved, that's the point.
No, no force.
And when he exited the vehicle, now you're talking to him, he's outside the vehicle, correct?
Mhm.
Was he causing you any problems as far as physical safety? Was he coming at you? Was he doing anything like that?
No, me and him, we built a rapport, like, I told him to just focus on me, he was focusing on me. But no, he wasn't giving me any issues until the window and placing him under arrest.
So the window was prior to him exiting the vehicle, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when he exited the vehicle, he wasn't giving you any problems at that.
No,
And, when he exited the vehicle, I take it that either you or your partner searched the vehicle or got in the vehicle to take a look and see if there was any safety concerns.
that was after the fact because his car was being towed. So we always have to do an inventory search of the vehicle whenever it's towed for any valuable stuff. But that was way after.
And the passenger that was in the vehicle, was that his brother, was that my client's brother?
I don't recall.
And, he wanted, you testified that the client asked to see a supervisor, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was there a reason why did he state to you a reason why he wanted the supervisor?
He said, I won't get out of the car until the supervisor makes this.
So he didn't state to, he didn't give you any reason for that?
No, sir.
And when the supervisor got there, is that when he exited the vehicle?
He was out of the vehicle before that, and then the supervisors and backup came.
And you figured out that he had a warrant out of your home, right?
I know he had an active warrant, I just don't know out of where.
And it was a misdemeanor warrant?
I'm not sure, can't recall.
And at that time, you decided you were going to put him under your dad, you were going to place him under arrest for the warrant, correct?
It was discovered finally.
And when you told him that, at some point in time, you had to handcuff him, is that correct?
Sorry,
You asked to handcuff him. You asked him to prepare to be handcuffed,
I said, please, put your hand behind the back.
and he did do that, correct?
He was resisting, he was not immediately.
Did you have to force his hands behind his back?
I had to guide his hands back, yes.
But you didn't have to force him.
Force and, I mean,
Well, you did-
I wasn't like struggling to get him to put his hands, but I was using some sort of strength to get him to put his hands behind his back.
Did he pull away from you or did he resist you?
He began to pull away.
And that's when that's when you were able to get his hand behind his back. And you put cuffs on, right?
Yes.
And there wasn't any further incident.
After that, no, he didn't want to get in the vehicle at first, and I started talking to him, and I started telling him like, hey man, it's not.
And then he did get in your vehicle, right?
Yes.
And you didn't have to force him to get in the vehicle.
No.
No further questions?
All right, you redirect.
None, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, you are speaking. Your testimony. No further, apologize. All right, is the defense calling the witnesses today?
No.
All right, thank you. Once the witness exits the court, counsel, make the motion.
Your Honor, the people move that defendant Tyrone Bailey be bound over on count one, police officer assault resisting obstructing, and reserve argument. Thank you.
Argument?
Judge, just very quickly, my client was stopped for a civil infraction. He did pull over. He wasn't as quick as the officer wanted, but he did pull over. He wasn't real cooperative with putting his windows down, but he did at some point in time exit the vehicle without a problem. He was handcuffed with very minor problems from the officer's testimony. I just don't think there's enough here to show.
I'm sorry, can you start the mic?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Your Honor, I don't believe there's enough here to show that there was resisting or obstructing. My client cooperated in the end. He wanted a supervisor. There were some problems with the officer. From the testimony, it appeared as though he wasn't really sure why he was being pulled over. And I just don't think that this meets the threshold for unobstructed.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, people respectfully disagree with defense with this charge of the assault, battery, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, or oppose. Multiple times, testimony indicated that the defendant resisted and opposed the commands given by the police officer. Officer even, again, a second time reiterated on cross that defendant resisted or opposed his commands once, namely, when the windows are to go down. Also, at one point, he even decided to roll up a window so that the officers could not have contact with the passenger. After that, he resisted getting out of the vehicle. Even at that point, he already have the initial resisting commands with the windows. Eventually, he is told that he has to be placed under arrest, and he does not voluntarily listen and actually comply with the orders and put his hands behind his back, as the officer indicated. He pulled away. He did not comply with the order. As I asked him, did he comply? He did not. And regardless of the amount of effort given, the actual officer had to grab his arm and actually struggle to put the handcuffs on him. The people would indicate that contrary to defense's argument, with this type of charge, it is wonderful to see an officer come in here and testify that he calmly convinced and the situation didn't escalate. But with this type of charge, the moment the defendant resists and does not comply with the officer's order, that we have probable cause to bind the premise. And he did multiple times. Therefore, the people would ask, should he be bound over on probable cause? Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the court had an opportunity to hear the testimony of this matter. The officer, Dale, testified the incident taking place on or about April 30th, 2023 in the city of Detroit, while with his partner near or at Hogarth and Dexter. He observed the vehicle with tinted windows, conducted a traffic stop, indicated that the vehicle was slow to come to a stop. He eventually came to a stop. He approached the driver, identified the defendant as the driver, ordered the defendant to lower all the windows of the vehicle because of the tint. The tint in the vehicles was obstructing their view inside of the vehicle. And the defendant lowered some of the vehicles while the partner was talking to the front passenger. The defendant rolled up the window and indicated that the passenger didn't need to talk to him. And then the officer testified that he instructed the defendant to roll down the windows, which he did not. And then the officer asked the defendant out of the vehicle, which he did not comply with, asked for a supervisor, the supervisor was called. The defendant exited the vehicle, provided ID. It was then learned that the defendant had an active warrant for lien, and then the officer attempted to place the defendant under arrest for that outstanding warrant, and that the officer testified that the defendant then resisted, was told to put his hands behind his back, did not initially comply with that command, and ultimately the officer was able to handcuff the defendant. He also indicated that the defendant resisted in getting into the car as well. They were able to get him into the car. The court finds, based on the testimony, that the people have met their burden. There is probable cause to find that the defendant should be bound over to Wayne County Circuit Court for further proceedings. Finds the probable cause of the crime was committed in the city of Detroit. Probable cause to believe that the defendant has been charged appropriately. This matter will move forward for trial. The arraignment on the information is June the 6th, and that'll be at 9 a.m. Frank Burton Hall of Justice. If there's no objection, court will continue the bond. That concludes the hearing.
No objection, John.
All right, are the parties ready on shorter?
All right, just call me, man. Thanks, bro. Get your phone.
Thank you. All right, people of the state of Michigan versus Reginald Phillips Shorter. This is case number 230562778. Defendant is charged as follows. Count 1, carrying a concealed weapon. Count 2, weapons, firearms, possession by felon. Count 3, weapons, felony firearm. Defendant is also being charged as a habitual offender, second to this notice. Matters before the court for preliminary examination.
Alexander Kirker on behalf of the people, P86282.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Lucia Taylor for 125678. All right, are the people ready to proceed?
The people are, Your Honor.
All right, you may call your first witness. Shorter, you may have a seat.
At this time, the people call Officer Stephen Jackson. Your Honor, I do have one preliminary matter as to a certified conviction.
Okay.
This time, the people move to admit pursuant to MCL 76611B1B, certified copy of the defendant's previous felony charge of felon in possession of a firearm.
Date of the conviction?
Pardon?
What is the date of the conviction?
The date of the conviction was on April 17th, 2014.
All right, counsel, any objection?
We will leave it to the court's determination. This is a certified copy.
All right, thank you. All right, pursuant to Michigan law, it is admissible. Counsel, call your witness, please.
Did I put my appearance on record?
No.
Alicia Taylor calling 56278 on behalf of Reginald Shorter.
All right, thank you. Shorter is in the courtroom, be seated. All right, raise your right hand. And do you affirm the testimony you give this court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you may be seated.
Good afternoon. Could you please restate your name for the record?
Officer Jackson, badge 2158, with the Detroit Police Department.
And Officer Jackson, are you currently employed and in what capacity?
Yes, sir.
In what capacity?
I'm a law enforcement officer.
And how long have you been employed as a police officer?
Just a little under 8 months.
And were you employed as a police officer on April 4th, 2023?
Yes, sir.
Did you in fact work on that date?
Yes, sir.
Were you by yourself or with a partner?
I had a person,
And what is your partner's name?
Officer Neil.
And did your duties as a police officer take you to an area at or near 11535 Meringue Street?
Yes, sir.
That in the city of Detroit, county of Wayne?
Yes, sir.
And what brought you to that area?
It was a special attention for green light location.
And what do you mean by special attention?
So basically, with green lights, they pay Detroit Police Department to monitor the cameras and go into the location, make sure everything's okay, secure the location.
And while you were conducting this special attention, did you observe anything at this location?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
I observed I don't recall the van, but a large van. I observed Mr. Shorter in the driver's side door frame, with the door open.
And when you say Mr. Shorter, is there anybody present in the courtroom today that you came into contact with on that date?
Yes, sir.
Could you please point out that individual and identify an article of clothing they are wearing?
Looks like blue polo.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the identification of the defendants.
All right, so noted.
And for the record, we object to all court identification.
All right, so noted.
And when you observed the defendant, what was he doing?
He was standing inside the driver's side door frame with the door open. I made eye contact with him, and he moved back to what appeared to pump gas, leaving the door open.
And what did you do upon the defendant moving to pump gas?
I just made scissor contact, and then when I approached, I observed a pistol, silver button, silver pistol, driver's side door.
And from where did you approach the vehicle?
I approached from the rear of the vehicle, driver's side.
And was the door open still at this point?
Yes, sir.
And could you see into the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And you stated you observed a pistol.
Yes, sir.
Could you describe that pistol?
It was a silver and black pistol
And where was it located?
on the driver's side floorboard.
And upon observing this pistol on the driver's side floorboard, what did you do?
I asked Mr. Schroeder if he had a carrying concealed weapons permit, and he explained that he did not, and that the pistol belonged to his girlfriend.
And at this point, what did you do?
I detained Mr. Schroeder for further investigation.
And did you recover the weapon?
After I did detain him and photographed the vehicle, I did recover a pistol off the floorboard.
And did you conduct any further investigation?
Yes, I did check in our law enforcement internet networking system and did prove that Mr. Schroeder did not have a carrying concealed weapons permit, and that the gun was not registered to Mr. Schroeder.
And was the weapon placed into evidence?
Yes, it was.
Do you recall the evidence tag number?
I did not. I did my report. I can look at the report. I can look at there.
Would reviewing your report refresh your recollection?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may you?
Yes.
That number is going to be 2304040028.1. The recovered pistol is going to be a Taurus Brazil 357 Magnum, in silver and black.
All right, is there anything further of the witness?
I have no further questions.
All right, cross-examine.
We're asking for the body in the camp to be pulled up. The people have it. For Officer Jackson.
And you can walk over and show it to him. Have your question, him, if that's what you want to do.
Actually, if we can just show it to
Um,
have the clerk.
if you can have her do that. See if you'll be able to do that, because I'm not logged in. You do that. No, you're not doing that. You log in. That doesn't work. I'm gonna log in and then you will let them share. 438. Why is he doing it and not you? Why don't you have it?
My computer is very slow, very.
This might be too. We have lots of problems with the Wi-Fi in the building. So if he's not able to do it that way, you don't have to show it to the officer. Or
Your Honor, we have had issues with my computer and showing through Zoom. It may just be easier to show.
yeah, I mean, it's just been a problem. And what you can do is you can show the body worn camera to your client, and then you can walk it over to the officer, and then you can question him about it. Okay, let them in. All right, go over to your share.
Share screen.
Oh, no, no, you know, none of that. Where the green thing is. Yeah. And allow. Are you able to hear? Got to turn the volume off. You have to do some kind of an adjustment so that there's not an echo. All right. Cross exam, please.
And you just saw you approach the vehicle, correct?
Yes,
And you stated that you had eye contact when you were approaching the vehicle, is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
And that was at the back, while you were at the back of the vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you just saw that Mr. Shorter, then as you came around the, gas pump.
Yes,
Would-
ma'am.
There was nothing about Mr. Shorter that needed special attention, is that correct?
It's just special attention to the green location.
Right, to the
Just to make
location.
sure that everything's okay. We just basically contacted Mr. Shorter.
And my question specifically was, there was nothing in regards to Mr. Short, specifically, a report or, anything about his person or that van that you needed, that caused you to have special attention towards him.
Mhm.
And there were other people, there was another car parked on the other side of another pump,
I don't.
and you can see it in the video.
Yes, ma'am. I just-
Okay, and when you saw Mr. Shorter's van, you didn't go to any other vehicle or any other person, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And there was actually another African-American individual standing, or walking towards the gas station store while you were walking up to Mr. Shorter, is that correct? If you recall.
I don't.
And then you, as you just saw, had the supposed eye contact, Mr. Shorter was pumping gas, looking at you. Do you recall seeing that?
Sorry, ma'am.
Do you recall as you were walking around the rear of the van? You say that you were walking and had eye contact with Mr. Shorter.
I can't think of when you're standing the frame, driver's side door of the vehicle. I approached the gas station from the rear of the gas station, and there inside the driver's side door frame, and I made eye contact with.
While he was pumping the gas.
No, this is before he was pumping the gas, man.
Right there.
As I was approaching the vehicle from the rear, man, I made eye contact with him when he was standing in the driver's side door frame of the vehicle. He checked the green light footage, it observed me walking from the rear side of the gas station.
Oh, no,
and
I get
Mr.
it.
Shorter standing in the driver's side door.
If you just wait for a question as opposed to you just talking. My question was. You're walking around the vehicle right now,
Yes, ma'am.
and you're not having eye contact right now.
I
You're saying,
understand.
that's that. Right there. You're having eye contact, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you walk around to the front of the vehicle,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mr. Shorter walks to the front of the vehicle. Prior to you getting to the front of the vehicle, you could not see inside of that van, isn't that fair to say?
No, ma'am, I couldn't see inside. You watch my body cam footage after I get past that pump, you can see the driver's side door open,
This is your body cam.
and you can see Mr. Shorter further away back from the vehicle.
This-
I had full plain view footage inside of that vehicle as soon as I passed it.
This is your body cam.
I
Is that
understand
correct?
that, ma'am.
Counsel, he's giving you this testimony. You may not agree with it, but you can't argue with him back and forth about it.
In regards to citizen contact,
Yes, ma'am.
there was nothing specifically about Mr. Shorter or that van for any suspicious activity. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
So in regards to making citizen contact, what was your purpose of making citizen contact specifically with Mr. Shorter?
As I stated earlier, ma'am, special attention to the green light, making sure that the green light is safe and secure.
Okay.
First vehicle, he was the first person I made eye contact with, so I had citizen contact with him.
For what purpose?
I just stated, ma'am.
I'm sorry. For what other purpose besides saying hi?
There's
Because-
no other purpose.
Okay, so
I
you
just
had,
explained to you.
I'm sorry,
You can't talk at the same
I'm
time.
sorry.
You're gonna ask a question, let him answer. Please.
you said there was no other purpose than to say hi. Is that fair to say?
Just citizen contact.
Okay, and you could have said hi at the back of the van. Is that fair to say?
I mean, it's just citizen contact now.
Right, and you didn't make
All
sense.
on private
Council, I'm
property
asking you
now.
to move on. Stop. Move on, please.
You didn't make citizen contact with anyone else when you first arrived besides Mr. Shorter, is that correct?
I explained earlier, ma'am, you're the first person I made eye contact with. so
Did you
you're the first
understand my
person I
question?
spoke
Is that yes or no? Did you make contact with anybody else?
to.
All right, thank you. Council, move on.
And you agree with me, Mr. Shorter is a fairly tall individual, taller than you are, is that fair to say?
I didn't know before.
And you was not able to see in the van as you walked around, is that fair to say?
What do you mean, ma'am?
You didn't look into the van from the opposite side.
You talking about as soon as I came from the rear of the gas station?
I'm
Or are you
talking
talking
about,
about when I passed from the rear of the van?
talking about when you approached. it. When you initially approached it, you did not look at that van, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am. The only time that I did, was able to see inside of the van, I saw the driver's side door open. There was this on the floor.
And you said the pistol was on the driver's side floor,
Yeah,
and there were other things on that floorboard, isn't that fair to say?
but he doesn't have a body cam footage, so if you'd like to see that, yeah, that's where I recovered the pistol.
Say it again.
Said he does have my body cam footage, so you can replay that and see exactly where I recovered the pistol.
Yeah, that's sure. Have you had an opportunity to review your body cam footage? Do you have any questions or comments specifically for Mr. Shorter as you approach him?
I don't.
And you didn't know him before this day, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't see him get out of this van, is that correct?
I did review the green light footage after the arrest, ma'am.
I'm sorry, let me clarify my question. Let me clarify my question.
I physically did not see him exit. But I did review the green light footage.
I'm sorry, I'm not asking you any questions right now, Mr. Jackson. In fact, all that you saw once you got to the rear of the vehicle was just him pumping the gas, is that fair to say?
I stated earlier, ma'am, I
I'm-
observed him.
Officer Jackson, I need you to assist me in this so we can get this done. I'm asking you now, when you approach the rear of the vehicle, not what you previously said, you did not see him do anything but pump gas, is that fair to say?
Yes,
All right, council, is there anything else?
Nothing else.
Any redirect?
It's pretty clear. You see the defendant exit the vehicle,
I did not, but as I was trying to explain earlier.
Did you conduct any further investigation?
Yes, sir.
And what was that further investigation?
After taking the driver to the Detroit Detention Center, I got back to the main precinct. I did review the green light footage camera. I did observe Mr. Shorter drive up in that vehicle, exit the vehicle, and do the gas. Just for our right.
Nothing further, yeah.
At the time that you arrested Mr. Shorter, you did not know or see him exit or who exited in regards to what was in that vehicle, is that correct? And you had arrested him already, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You had detained him.
I
And
did
then you
detain
went and did your other investigation, is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
All right, thank you. The witness is excused. People calling any further witnesses?
People have no further witnesses now.
Is the defense calling witnesses today?
We are not sure.
Is there a motion? I need
Yes,
the
ma'am.
officer to leave the courtroom, please. All right, count.
Prior, I was going to ask to publish the certified convictions to the board.
Okay,
May I publish?
yes,
May I publish?
yeah. Thank you. Is there a motion?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the people have moved to bind over the defendants on all counts. So we count 1, weapons carrying concealed. Count 2, weapons, firearms, possession by a felon. And count 3, weapons, felony, firearm. As we heard from the officer, Officer Jackson, he approached green light location where they were giving special attention to. The first vehicle that he came into contact with on this at this green light station was the defendant's vehicle. He approached the vehicle and through coming around the vehicle through the open driver's side door, you could see a firearm lying on the floor of the driver's side, which he described as a Taurus 357 Magnum. The officer then asked the defendant if he had a CPL. The defendant said no, he did not have a CPL. He was detained, and then officers conducted further investigation. Early the defendant also does not have a CPL. The weapon was then recovered from where the officer had initially viewed it on the driver's side floorboard. The officer then went further and reviewed the green light camera, in which he was able to see the defendant drive up to the location, exit the vehicle, go into the store, and then come back exiting from the driver's door. The officer also, when he initially approached, viewed the defendant pumping gas for this vehicle. People believe in the burden of probable cause of the race victim.
All right, thank you. Respond.
We would object, Your Honor, in regards to special attention. I asked specifically if there was. We would object to the bind over and we are objecting in regards to the credibility. As the court was able to see the video along with myself and the officer. A part of that determination is credibility. The officer stating, well, I made eye contact and I could see, and that testimony was, when I made eye contact, the individual moved away from the center of the door, and I was then able to see into the vehicle. I asked specifically, when you made eye contact, he stated, pointing it out on the video, while he was at the back of the vehicle. But he states that he could see into the vehicle at that time and could clearly see this item supposedly on the floorboard. And looking at the video, clearly, at no point can you see into the vehicle and see the driver's side floorboard. He stated that his citizen contact, while there were obviously other people at this gas station for whatever reason, not identified on this record, Mr. Shorter drew his attention such that he approached the driver's side door, not recalling why or what he questioned him about, that he could see, clearly this item. We would state in regards to the credibility and in light of the body worn camera, that was footage that was shown, that this officer is not credible, and we would object to that.
All right. All right, the court's had an opportunity to hear the testimony of Officer Jackson, the incident taking place on or about April 4th, 2023 in the city of Detroit at or near Moraine. It is a special attention green light location. The officer testified that they were there for that purpose, checking on the area, that he observed a large van, that he observed the defendant at the driver's side of the van, stated that the defendant was standing with the door open, that he made eye contact with them, and that he then moved to pump his gas. He stated that he approached, and his testimony is that with the car door open, that he observed a pistol on the driver's side floorboard in plain view, and that it was silver and black pistol, to which the defendant did not have a CPO for, and that the defendant acknowledged belonging to his girlfriend, and that weapon was not registered to the defendant. This is a probable cause hearing. It is not a trial date. The people merely have to show probable cause. Based on the testimony of this officer, the court finds there is sufficient evidence to bind this matter over. The court will note that the defendant, what the testimony reflects, was the driver of this vehicle, that the weapon was located within arm's reach of the driver, and then the defendant allegedly, according to this officer, acknowledged that the weapon belonged to his girlfriend, therefore indicating knowledge that this weapon was in the vehicle. This court finds that there is probable cause that a crime was committed in the city of Detroit, and probable cause to believe that the defendant has been charged appropriately, along with the admission of the prior conviction that the defendant was convicted in this matter for a charge of weapons, firearms possession by a felon on May the 2nd, 2014, and would have been ineligible to be in possession of a weapon. This matter will move forward to the Wayne County Circuit Court for trial. Arraignment on information will be June 6th, and that'll be in Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. And if there's no further matters, this court will continue the bond unless there's any objection.
No objection.
All right, bond is continued. That concludes this matter. Thank you.